Any one of us can experience something that is deeply distressing and disturbing. What I've discovered at this conference is that trauma is an injury that many of us don't even know we have, but it is an injury that can be healed. With me is Claire Gibson, who has been part of the trauma team dealing with those suffering after the Grenfell fire tragedy, and Clive is one of the organisers of the conference here. Claire, early intervention, I'm sure, is very important in regard to trauma. What sort of a knock-on effect could that trauma have on those people at Grenfell?
Well, PTSD has a significant impact on someone's life. PTSD is a re-experiencing of the trauma, so it will bring them back clips from that night, the images they've seen, the things that they have heard, and the emotional experience that they have been through. That can affect their sleep, their concentration, have massive effects on relationships, work, which is why we're so happy to be providing this support.
Clive, for you, organising this conference has been pretty personal. What is your experience of trauma?
Well, my experience was not so much personal as the fact that my wife contracted a stress-induced illness, a terminal illness, and I realised that the way it was affecting my family was that they were actually going into trauma responses. One of my daughters phoned somebody in Edinburgh and they came on to me on Skype, and I just could not believe it. I didn't think my family had trauma, but we had developmental trauma going right back. So I began to read books, 40 to 50 of them, whilst my wife was being looked after in hospital. And when she unfortunately died, I thought, I've got to tell the world about this because it affects so many people, so many lives. We've got to get more done about it.
In Northern Ireland, we think of the legacy of the Troubles and the traumatic time that many people have had. But it's clear from this conference and a lot of the delegates that are speaking, it is much, much wider than that, hidden traumas.
The legacy certainly has an effect. You get transgenerational trauma, where the fathers maybe take to alcohol to rub out a memory. Then it goes down to the son because it affects the family. You get a ripple effect in the family. It's not an illness. It is an injury which can be healed, and that's very important.
The difficulty is, Claire, of course, that some people might not think that they're suffering from a trauma. So how do you detect it?
That you're feeling that you are more anxious than usual, perhaps more alert to danger, going along to your GP in the first instance, and then thinking about psychological therapy.
Claire and Clive, thank you for joining us on BBC Newsline. So this conference is dealing with something that's pretty negative, traumatic experiences and the injury that is trauma, but there is a positive conclusion to this conference, that there is healing available.